Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you to discuss whatever topics are important to you, whatever issues of life you find difficult to navigate or that you find challenging. We are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact, until you unscrewed the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, those of you that use the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and on YouTube, and those of you who are now using Zelle on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We thank all of you for your commitment and for your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I'm going to remind all of our listeners and viewers, we are in the midst of a new FijiWater.com sponsor promo. It's a new month, so here we are in the midst of a new promo. So that promo consists of you going to our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com. Again, WKAPFaith.com. The first three songs you hear at 11 a.m. or at 6 p.m. List those three songs along with your name and your email address. Text them to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. One of our listeners and viewers will be selected to win a case of Earth's finest water from FijiWater.com. So we will be tallying the November response and communications with those songs. As I announced yesterday, our winner for September was Olivia Hollander, and in Naples, Florida. So we are excited about Olivia tuning in, and thank you so much for being a part of the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to remind everyone, it's new month. We will continue this until the end of the year. We will be tallying up October, and we will make that announcement. So just enjoy our internet radio station. We are thankful for everyone who tunes in, wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe. And for all of those who are participating, we are excited about you having the opportunity to be selected to receive Earth's finest water from FijiWater.com. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have a new business opportunity and you want to ensure that you are successful. You said, what can you do to make certain that the new business is a success? So I'm going to tell you very simply that first and foremost, you have to focus. You know, you've got to focus on the business itself. And you've got to avoid or eliminate distractions. There are going to be some distractions you can avoid, but they're part of everyday life. And let me expound on that so that you're clear. and I don't want this to sound negative when I say this, but family can be a distraction. So everybody has to be on the same page. But you can avoid some of those distractions. You've got to let everyone do what they're doing and be who they are, and only interfere when you need to interfere or when God assigns for you to interfere. But you can avoid a lot of the distractions from family just by simply not being involved in everything they're involved in. That's the first thing. The second thing is you can avoid distractions from friends. You're not going to eliminate them because people are going to have friends. But you can avoid some of the distractions. So if they call you and ask you to do something, you're building a business, you are focused on your business, you've got to avoid those distractions. However, there are distractions you can eliminate. You can eliminate the distractions that you engage in yourself. And that is, we talk about this a lot. Social media is a big distraction for most people. It takes up a lot of time for most people. But that's a distraction you can eliminate. And I'm not suggesting that you don't want to stay informed, because we all need to be informed about what's going on in our society. But we don't want to waste any time on it. We don't want to spend so much time on it that it becomes a distraction. So you can just eliminate that and read the news or turn on the news in the morning. It doesn't have to be through social media. The modern trends are what we see on social media. You have to eliminate those, because those are never going to allow you to maximize your success. And then what you've got to do is you've got to put business in categories. So I've often shared with everyone, there are 5 major segments to business. They're administration, development, management, marketing, and operation. So I've often told everyone each one of those segments you should focus on for 2 hours a day, which means a 10-hour workday minimum. So you have to put business in categories so that you can be successful. You have to say, okay, this is what I have to work on from an administrative aspect. This is what I have to work on from a development aspect. This is what I have to work on from a management aspect. This is what I have to work on from a marketing aspect. And this is what I have to work on from an operational standpoint. So when you put business in segments, it allows you to focus. It allows you to keep your focus. Make the main thing the main thing. So if, for 2 hours today, administration is the main thing, that is what you need to focus on. If the next 2 hours is development, you have to focus on the development of your business. If the next segment is management, and you hear me do this in alphabetical order, and there's a reason, because when you place everything in alphabetical order, it allows you to be intentional about everything. It's those little things that we can do. So those are the little things that you can do to ensure that your business is a success. But the main thing has to be focus and avoid distractions, and then the categories of business. And you have to look at each category and you have to say, okay, if my category is administration, I'm going to spend these 2 hours on administration. If something spills over into that, don't be alarmed. This will take me to another communication, but don't be alarmed. Don't become overwhelmed. Just address what needs to be addressed throughout the day. I had someone long ago say to me, well, there's 5 days in a work week, but we really should be working 6. We should be focused on 6 days a week. We work. On the 7th day we rest. So, but he said to me, okay, there's five, and this was long ago. We agreed there's 5 segments of business. And he said, well, maybe one day of the week should be administration, one day of the week should be development, one day of the week should be management, one day of the week should be marketing, one day of the week should be operations. And I said, but what happens if you do that on a daily basis is that you'll find that you start getting behind on each of the categories, and you don't want to do that. So you want to make certain that you focus. But then think about this: if you focus 2 hours on each segment of business for 5 days, 5 to 6 days, you're going to put in at 10 hours on each segment, 10 to 12 hours on each segment per week. Whereas if you only focus on one day, you're only focusing on that particular category for the entire day, and those other things are not going to get done that need to be done. So, we had a long conversation about this many, many years ago. And, I'm okay with agreeing to disagree, but he actually said to me, he had never heard it explained that way, even though he had been in business before I was in business. And he said to me, but what you're saying makes sense. And sometimes we have to try a different method. And that's one of the ways, and stress is a killer. So if you start piling up those categories because you're only focused on one thing one day of the week, it's going to start to stress you out, and first of all, you're going to become overwhelmed, and then eventually you're going to start to stress. And that's why people were dying from heart attack, and heart disease is a different category, but they were, heart attacks and strokes because they were so stressed out because they were only doing segments of business each day. They would focus on one segment. So we've got to really look at the big picture and then work each category each day. And if something spills over into the next 2-hour category or segment of business, then you just allow it to be worked until you can get through it and then move on. These are methods, and we all have to have a methodology for business. So that is a method that will allow you to really be successful, for your business to be successful. So, focus, avoid distractions, and categorize business so that you can maximize your success. Your business will become successful, but you want to maximize that success also. And it's interesting because it never ends. My wife and I were having a conversation about that this morning. There's no such thing as, you get to the end, because there's always more to be done when you're in business. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill. And if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you met some interesting people at an event recently. You said, however, you are not certain how you're going to develop and nurture those encounters into a relationship. You said, although you feel that you could learn a lot from those individuals. So, in your communication, here's the thing to remember. If you've encountered some people at an event, you've got their business cards, you can reach out and email them. If they're in your area, invite them to go for coffee, or if you're not a coffee drinker, like me, I would say coffee and hot chocolate, since I'm not a coffee drinker. I would just, you want to share something so that they understand that even though it's professional, you are sharing something with them personal. You're not a coffee drinker. Or if you are a coffee drinker, can we meet for coffee just so that we can share some thoughts about the event? Don't make it about what you want from them immediately. You just want to open yourself to them. And then secondly, it's okay to say to them, I really enjoyed the encounter. I really feel that your methodology for business is something that's of interest to me. So you might try that approach. And then that way you will have the opportunity to sit down. Now, if they're in and talk with them. But if they're in your business environment, you can really, in today's society, the great thing about social media and internet is that although people use it for the wrong purposes, you have the opportunity to observe people, what they're accomplishing, what they're doing from a professional perspective. And you can emulate some of those things. You don't really have to know them personally to be able to emulate what they're doing. So that's another component. But then you have to allow relationships to develop organically also. So, inviting them out for coffee or for lunch or whatever the case may be, you invite them out, you sit down, just in the email, just say to them, when discussing your methodology, your approach to business and success, there's some things about your methodology that I would really like to learn. Because people really don't mind you learning from them. The problem is we don't want to take the time to learn from them. We want everything to happen right away. We want everything to, we use an analogy in our church at New Life Christian Center, 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. We use an analogy about the microwave society we're living in. Once upon a time, we didn't have a microwave. But now because people have microwaves, they want life to be, put in the microwave and hit popcorn or hit 2 minutes and everything is ready to be served. No, it requires work. It requires commitment. It requires diligence. It requires consistency. We have to recognize that everything we do is going to require work, even relationships. You don't want to make it a job, but it does require us to do some work. And what that means is this. If you truly believe you can learn something from them, you need to explore that. But you need to make certain that they have the opportunity to share with you not just one time, but over time. You're not going to learn everything overnight. You're not going to learn everything by just sitting down with them and saying, I want to learn from you. You're going to have to spend time learning what they do, how they do it. So there's strategic implementation plan. You have to get a full understanding of their methodology. The methods they're using to be successful. From the smallest thing to the largest thing that they're doing in their methodology to accomplish their success. The small things could simply be, their eating habits, their workout schedule, their, rest schedule. Those are the smallest things that have the biggest impact on their body and on their mind. Because we're fueling the body and the mind. So those simple things may have some significant impact. And then what are their daily habits? There's a reason companies have people shadow someone. What are their daily habits? You don't have to follow them around. Just ask them what their daily habits are. And because you've taken an interest, now you're going to find out some personal things that will also help you develop a relationship. Are they runners? Do they hit the gym? How often do they hit the gym? What's their time schedule for hitting the gym? Do they play tennis? Do they play golf? Do they go to attend sporting events? You'll find all of that out if you find out what someone's daily schedule is. But you have to spend time getting to know that. You have to spend time observing what they do. But nobody, I can't say no one. Most people don't want to spend the time doing that. Most people don't want to spend the time examining a daily schedule to get to a place of success. And I can tell you, there are interviews online with CEOs, with founders of companies that will tell you what their daily routine is. You don't have to follow their exact routine. If someone says they get up at 4 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. in the morning to go and exercise, I'm not going to do that. But I do realize early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I also understand that if they're getting up at 4 or 4:30 to hit the gym, they're exercising. So I may not do that time slot, but you can incorporate it into your time. We just have to pick and choose how we're going to implement. What's our own implementation strategy? So, but you still want to know what their daily schedule is. You still want to know how they approach their daily schedule. You still want to know how they allocate their time for family and friends. You still want to know every component of their methodology. What do they do? You know, I had some interesting conversations with students this morning who asked me a lot of questions, particularly two of them that have been with us. They're middle school students, but they're now in 8th grade. They've been with us since 6th grade. And they were asking the right questions. You know, so that's important. You got to ask the right questions if you're going to develop and nurture a relationship with someone. You know, you can't just think that you're going to sit down with them once and have all the information and I'm off to the races. No, that's not how it works. You want to know what's the everyday schedule. You want to know what their daily routine is, and you want to know what their variables are in their routines. You know, some days they may do something different than others. Some people don't work out every day. They may work out every other day. So what are they doing with the days that they're not working out? You want to know all the components of their daily life. And then you can develop your own strategic implementation plan, your implementation strategy. So I will encourage you to do this. First of all, observe. Second of all, send the emails, invite them to coffee, invite them to lunch, whatever the case may be, and have the opportunity to sit down and speak with them if they're in your environment. If they're not in your environment, you follow them by what they do professionally in the professional environment. And eventually they may share some of what they do in their personal environment and on a daily basis. Because that will give you the opportunity to emulate someone who's already doing what you desire to do. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. Shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And right now, if you order 3 high-quality cotton shirts, you will receive them for $99. You can order right now 3 high-quality cotton shirts from Charles Tyrwhitt for $99. That's a $228 savings at Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. They have home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you are starting to feel quite overwhelmed by all the responsibilities you have in your life. Listen, this is not the first time I've heard from someone who was feeling overwhelmed or was dealing with some anxiety or whatever the case may be. Let me say this to you. If you have a lot of responsibilities in your life, the first thing you have to do is prioritize. Do not try to eat the elephant in one sitting. Only one bite at a time. And what I mean by that is you've got to prioritize what's most important. What should be most important to you. Listen to this. Because I think sometimes we all get confused by this. What should be most important to you is, first of all, your personal life, your professional life. The quality of life. Your professional life and the quality of your personal life. And so that means your business environment and your home environment. If you have children living in your household, they're part of that priority. If you have children living outside of your household, they can't be your priority because they're going to live their own lives. And so often as parents, we live our lives through our children vicariously. That can't be a factor. But then once you've taken care of your professional environment and the quality of life in your personal environment, then you can be available to your children who are adults outside of the household. Extended family can't be your priority. You can pray for them, you can love them, you can pray for them, but they can't be your priority. They have a life to live. And you have a life to live. They're not your responsibility unless there is a significant health condition. Then you can participate, but you've got to pick and choose. If they're not alone on their journey, you get to pick and choose how you're going to assist. If they're alone on the journey, you may spend more time on that. But if they have children, that is their children's responsibility. So, having said that, one of the things we have to realize is that priorities are everything. So you've got to prioritize what's going on in your own life. You can be a part of your children's lives. For those of you that, including myself, that have grandchildren, you can be a part of their lives. But they have their own lives to live. And you're not going to be necessarily involved in being part of the decision-making process. And you got to be okay with that. Because that can't be your priority. That'll allow you to eliminate some of what has you overwhelmed. The problem is we pile everything in the center of the room of our lives. And before you know it, we have an elephant in the room. And then we want to eat the elephant. And I'm using that as a metaphor to say we see this huge problem and we want to solve it when there's a lot of variables and we don't have the ability to solve it. We only have the ability to recognize it. And maybe if we participate, we will take a bite. But one bite at a time. If you begin to prioritize your life, what's really most important, health, wellness, state of mind, professional, career, professional environment, personal life, quality of personal life. Those are your priorities. Everything else, not so much. Everything else is just added responsibility that we don't always have to take on. That we don't have to take on. But we begin to take those things on, and then they become overwhelming for us, sometimes leading to anxiety. The next thing you know, perhaps even depression, and if not depression, certainly stress. And one thing you don't want to do is add unnecessary stress to your life, because stress is a killer. We want a great quality of life, and if we prioritize our life, we will have a great quality of life. This segment of the broadcast and today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast is brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe.